Okay, hey everybody, this is Jake again with the DIA guys, and today we're going to do an oil change on a 2003 GMC Yukon XL Denali. This truck has the 6-liter engine in it, so it's due for an oil change, and we're going to go through that process doing that here with you right now. So I got my tools that I'm going to need here for the project up here, and I'm going to go through them really quickly. I've also got a drain pan that's below the vehicle already in position to collect the used oil, and I've got the vehicle up on jack stands secured to the frame. So it's just something to touch on. You want to be real careful when you jack the vehicle up. Make sure you got good quality jack stands, and the jack stands underneath the frame to support the vehicle. So we got a 3/8 drive ratchet here and a 15mm socket, so this is going to be used to remove the oil drain plug. You can also use a open-end, boxed-in combination wrench if you want to, but 15mm is the magic number. Got a oil filter wrench here. It's on a 3/8 drive extension. Got a little bit longer extension just so I can get away from the engine and pull the oil filter out. This vehicle takes a PF46E oil filter, and I like to use the factory oil filters. I feel like they're pretty good quality, and the cost is good as well. And I do oil changes about every 5,000 miles or so, so I find that these work pretty good. And then I'm going with this SuperTech Walmart brand, full synthetic. It's the high mileage version, SAE 530. It's got all the resource conserving SN Plus designations on the oil, and I also done some research and looked at some other YouTube videos, and actually performs pretty good. So I think for the money, what this oil costs, I think it's a pretty good value, and that's what I'm going to be using here for this oil change. So the first thing I'm going to do up here is to loosen my oil fill cap. So I just showed you taking it off, but don't take it off, just loosen it, and what that'll allow is just some air movement in the engine, so that you'll get better drain on your oil when you remove your oil drain plug. So let's go underneath the engine, or underneath the vehicle, and let's get our 15mm ratchet here, or 15mm socket with a 3/8 ratchet, and let's pull that plug and get the oil drain. One other thing that I do when I change the oil as well is have the vehicle where it's at least an operating temperature. So this vehicle has probably been running maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, and it's warm, and I know that some people might not like to do that because the oil's going to be hot when you drain it, and that's right. If you get it on you, it's going to be hot. But I always like to have the vehicle hot because it allows the oil to and all the particles and any kind of sludge or anything that might be in the engine to be mixed with the oil, and the oil drains faster if the engine's hot when you drain the oil. So that's the process I like to go, or the condition I like to have the engine in when I'm changing the oil. Okay, so let's go down underneath the vehicle, and let's pull the drain plug and let's get the oil draining. Okay, so here we are underneath the engine, underneath the vehicle, and so here's your drain plug for the oil, and then here's your oil filter. They're pretty close together, so that's kind of convenient, in terms of where your drain pan's located. Here I got my drain pan located here, and you want to make sure the bottom of your pan is pretty much even with the bottom, or the top edge of your pan, I guess, however you want to say it, is even with the edge of the oil plug, because when you pull this plug out here, this oil is going to shoot on out of here. So you want to make sure you have plenty of a runway for that oil to be able to reach in your pan, and then as it slows up, it's gonna start to trickle closer to the pan, so then you can just kind of slide your oil pan up a little bit, and then you can have it in position to continue to drain the oil, and also drain your oil filter too, because taking off the oil filter is going to be kind of a messy job, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to put my 15mm socket on here, and I'm going to get this oil drain plug off. Now I've got the oil drain plug loosened, and you can see the oil starting to come out a little bit, so I'm kind of reposition my oil pan here, make sure I've got it where the oil's going to shoot down into the oil pan. Now taking the oil plug out is kind of tricky when you do it this way, because what you want to do is remove the plug, but at the same time push in on the plug. And you got to remember that the oil's hot, right? So pull that out, let it go. Quickly get your hand out of the way and let it flow. So as that starts to slow down, you can just kind of push your oil up a little bit, oil drain pan up a little bit, and let it flow into the pan. And that's it. So we'll let that drain for a little bit here, and then we'll take off the oil filter. Okay, so now we're going to take off our oil filter. So with the drain pan slid over a little bit, and I left the oil drain plug off so that it can kind of keep draining the oil. We're going to take off the oil filter. So install your oil filter removal tool on your 3/8 drive ratchet and give it a good turn and get that oil filter loosened. When you do that, there's going to be oil that's going to come out everywhere around this oil filter. So you're going to want to make sure your drain pan's in place to catch it. Let that drain kind of continue to loosen the filter, and it's going to drain a little bit more oil. Once the oil's finished draining, then you can just remove the filter and pull it off and set it in your drain pan. Okay, so let's do that now. Alright, so got the oil filter loose, and you see it's going to start leaking some oil. So just kind of keep unscrewing it and let the oil drain out of the filter. And then once it's completely drained, then you can reach up there and just remove the filter. Okay, so I went ahead and put my drain plug in down below, cleaned the drain plug up. Mine is a type that has a magnet on the end of it, so it'll have a little bit of the metal shavings and the particles from the engine wear, which is, some is normal, and that's okay. So you wipe all that stuff away, clean it up, put the drain plug back in. So I got my oil filter here, and I always like to fill the oil filters before I install them in the vehicle. It just helps to make sure the engine, absolutely make sure the engine doesn't run dry when you start it up while the oil filter is being filled. And it's just something I've always liked to do. On this particular vehicle, you can do it easily because the oil filter is installed vertically like this, so obviously the oil won't come out of the oil filter. You know, so if you install it in a similar Chevrolet truck, GMC truck, you know, up until probably even the new ones, it's going to be basically the same kind of installation method, vertical. But if your vehicle is horizontal, you may want to be careful about putting oil in the oil filter, or if you do put some in there, don't fill it full, just put a little bit in there to start to pre-fill it and let that element start to soak up the oil. So again, just to make sure that the engine doesn't run without oil during your initial startup. So one thing you also want to do is take a little bit of the oil from the top. This one's got an anti-drain back valve in it, so there's oil pool here on the top. Kind of take that and use that to oil your gasket. That just makes sure that you have a good seal on your engine block when you install your oil filter. So we're going to go underneath the vehicle, and we'll get this oil filter installed. And then once the oil filter is installed, we're going to come up here and fill the engine with oil, and then we'll check it, and then we'll wrap the project up. It's a pretty quick project. I'll see. Okay, so here we are under the vehicle. The oil's been drained from the oil filter housing for a while, so I'm just going to take a clean paper towel, or you take a clean cloth and clean off this mating surface for your oil filter gasket. You know, make sure also that the oil filter gasket's not on here, and you got a good shiny surface so you get a good mate, and you don't get any kind of leaks. Clean up the area, make sure it's all good and clean, and then you can just take your oil filter and set it up there and just start to tighten it up. Now you want to take your oil filter, spin it on there, and get it to where the gasket's touching the base of the engine block. And then once it's touching the base of the engine block, you want to just turn it about 3/4 of a turn. So let's see, so it's about a half. So I might need to get a tool because I can't really get a good hand on here because of the way the oil pan is set up, and just get a little bit more of a turn on there. But basically after the engine, or after the oil filter mates the block, just give it about a 3/4 turn. You don't want to give it a bear hug because that can cause problems as well. So once the oil filter's tight, you got it on there. I've also reinstalled the oil drain plug. I did the same procedure as I showed you for the oil filter. I cleaned the mating surface, I clean the oil plug. And also, just make sure that you're using clean rags and clean stuff when you do this, because all these surfaces are surfaces that are going to go inside of your oil pan, or they're going to come in contact with the oil from your engine. So obviously, that could put trash in your engine if you're not using a good clean rag. So just make sure you're using a clean rag and get your oil plug installed, and then we're ready to go up top and fill the car or fill the engine back up with oil. Okay, so now we're back on the top side of the engine. Got our funnel in place. Make sure your funnel's clean. If you haven't put a rag or something in there, just make sure you spray down the inside with carburetor cleaner, run a rag through it, but just make sure that's clean too, because again, just like down below where we were cleaning our mating surfaces, all this stuff, you're going to push all this in your engine. So if there's dirt, dust, or junk in here, that's going right down your crankcase, and you don't want that. So make sure that's a good clean funnel. So get your funnel in place. Now this vehicle, again, this is 6-liter GM in this Denali. It takes 6 quarts of motor oil, and I'm using this, again, this 530 synthetic SuperTech motor oil. So now we're just going to fill the car. We'll fill it with oil, and our full 6 quarts. We'll check it. We'll start the vehicle and look for leaks, and if everything's good, then this project will be wrapped up. We'll also have to reset the oil indicator, oil life change indicator, and we'll do that as well in the vehicle. So let's go ahead and fill the vehicle up with oil. I always find too with these bottles, it's better, don't pour this way, turn to the side and pour. It just seems to work better in terms of being able to hit the opening, and I don't know, it just works better for me at least. So maybe that'll help some other folks trying to make sure you don't spill the oil all over your engine, all over the ground. If you get some oil in the engine, it's not the end of the world. Oil on the plastic parts is not terrible, because it'll help to put some life back into them if they're dried out. If it gets on the header pipes or something like that, it'll just burn off. It'll smoke, the vehicle will smoke a little bit, but it won't be a big deal. You're not hurting anything. But I'll clean up what you can, and fill your vehicle up with oil. Alright, so we got the engine crankcase filled up. Checked it with the dipstick. I know I put 6 quarts in there. Check it with the dipstick, it's good. Looked underneath the car, there's no leaks initially. So we're going to go ahead and fire the truck up, let it run a little bit, and we'll go underneath the truck and check the oil drain plug and the filter for leaks. So just let it idle and check it for leaks. Alright, so we checked this side. I can get underneath that side and check the drain plug. It's not leaking. Let's get on this side. Let's check the oil filter. Like there's no oil leaking over here. Yep, filter's dry, so we're good. So now all we got to do is we'll get the vehicle down. We will check the oil dipstick level one time after the oil circulated through the engine. We'll get our engine oil life meter reset on our vehicle. Okay, now once you've checked for leaks and all that's done, next step is to reset the oil life indicator on the engine. So turn the switch on so the ignition is on and the vehicle is not running, but the ignition is on. And down here, push this button with a little gas pump on it until you get to the engine oil life indication here. And once you're there, on the other side of the steering wheel, there's a little arrow, kind of looks like an enter on a keyboard. Just take and press that for 3 to 5 seconds, hold it down, and the engine oil life will reset. And then once it resets, then you're in good shape. There we go. Engine oil life 100%. So now we're ready for another 5,000 miles. Okay guys, in addition to resetting the oil filter or the oil change life on the vehicle, And knowing I change them every 5,000 miles, I still like to write down the date that I changed the oil and the miles that the oil was changed at. And I put it up in my visor here, just so I got a little bit of reminder for the future, just in case. You know, I don't drive the vehicle very much. A lot of time passes because it could be that situation. Just to make sure I know when I change my oil last. Okay. Last step after you got that engine oil life reset is you want to just check your oil one more time again, and we've done that here, and the oil is filled up to the top dot in the crosshatch area, so we're in good shape. Our fill is closed, so that's it. So thanks for joining me here on this video, going through the process of changing the engine oil in the GMC Yukon 2003. I hope this has been helpful to some of you guys. Maybe there was something here that you learned about changing oil on your vehicle that could help you in the future. Till next time, see you later. Bye.